Richard from Prodigious London, where we're going to be speaking a little bit about selling directors. So, just a little backstory. Prodigious London has worked with McDonald's, they've worked with EE, they've worked with Subway. So, they've worked with the big brands, and we're going to be talking to Richard, who is a executive producer. And deputy head. So we're speaking to a little bit about him, about how they sell directors. So if you are a director, listen up close because we can basically hear on the other side about how people are speaking about directors, about us in the room when we're not there. So if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll get to them. So without further ado, I'm going to invite in Richard. Oh, 1 second. There we are.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hi, how are you doing, Curtis?
It's good to have you on.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to jump straight in.
Yeah,
So basically, what I want to do, essentially, I ask everybody starting out is, how do you describe what you do? So I mentioned that you were an executive producer as well as like a deputy head
yeah,
at Prodigious London.
yeah. So on a sort of day-to-day basis, I get briefed. Okay, we get scripts in, we get briefed. I then sort of look for directors, along with a couple of other people. We look for directors that could then work well for the scripts. We then cost up the scripts, get the script signed off, and then get the director signed off, and then once we've done all that, we then go into production. So as an EP, then I sort of step away from producing it and hand it over to one of our producers, and they produce the day-to-day stuff, and then I just oversee that.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting topic that I actually want to jump straight onto, which was looking for directors and like
Yeah,
selling directors. One, how do you look for them? Two, how are you selling them? So when we're not in the room, what are you saying? How are you? How essentially is what I'm asking.
yeah. So there's a few things, right? So often creatives want to see, and I've spoken to a few other directors about this. Often they want to see their script that they've written already done, or something on your reel. Like some can be quite sort of prescriptive in that sense. Like they want to see you've done something very similar to what they've written, so they can feel safe.
Mm.
Some creatives are a bit more adventurous and are up for working with new directors and younger people, and can sort of see things on the reel that not necessarily exactly the same, but are the right sort of style, or you can see how they could do the right thing. So it's sort of a different approach depending on who the creative is, and obviously what the size of the brief is. So what I look for is things like performance. Like, are you good with cast? You know, are you good with getting comedy? Are you good? It doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't matter if you've got the same thing. Your skill will be transferable if you've got something similar. So I just look for craft, for a lot for performance. Like, how good are you at getting performance? If you've got a certain style, just lots of different little things. And I always say to young directors, I've spoken to a few, that it's really good to show that you can do 30s, because a lot of young people, a lot of directors do this. They have short films and things like that on their reel, which are great. But having a 30-second version of that or whatever is really helpful, because it's much easier for somebody to go with a younger director or less experienced director if they can see at least that they know how to tell a story in 30 seconds, because it's very rare we get stuff that's much longer than that. So that's something that I always encourage people to do if they're doing spec work or doing whatever. Make one version 30 seconds.
So so then anyone listening, every project you do, every film from this point on, anyone watching, there needs to be the actual version, and there needs to be the 30-second version. That's the new rule.
If it works, like obviously some things are a long form documentary, that's fine. But if it's, if you've made a 60-second ad, or a 90-second ad, show us it in 30, show us it in 15 as well, because you're going to need to at some point. That's what we generally work to. So it's just useful. All you need to think about is how how sellable am I to a creative and then to a client who's going to spend their money on you. So showing that you can do you can storytell in that time, showing that you can get performance out of cast, showing that you can do comedy, showing that you can, car stuff, so you know how to shoot a car, like just seeing some things. I don't believe you have to do, as I said, some creatives want to see exactly the ad they've written by somebody else. I think that's silly. You're like discounting tons of really good people because they've just not done that. I just think you just need to have a few things that will help you all through your career, just showing you quick storytelling and performance. If they're the only two things you can do, that'll get you so far.
Just jumping on that, because you're talking about performance. Are you talking about social performance? Are you talking about what sort of?
Oh, so I mean performance if cast. So how you get someone in your film to perform. So getting good natural performances out of a cast.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. How the actual film performs itself is, it's not really. Yeah, that's a different thing. It's more just showing that you can get cast to really perform on screen.
Cool. Just jumping off of that, because you're talking a bit about kind of just like, I guess, present the way that directors present themselves, and essentially so that when you find them, it's like, okay, cool, you're good to go, you're a good package. Would you then say that it's sort of really important for socials to be updated, for those things to kind of be all sort of the brand to sort of be together? Because I think sometimes as directors or filmmakers, we sometimes think, oh, it's the art, matters, and we don't kind of curate ourselves. Would you say that's super important?
Certainly when you're starting out, anything that you can do to help. So yeah, I mean, having the thing with like, the one thing I would say is shoot as much as possible if you're starting out. Like the bigger your reel, the bigger your experience, the better. But yeah, having easy access to say, if you've not got a website, building a website is complicated and can be expensive. If you've not got that far yet, just making sure everything is really easy to find on your Instagram, or you've got a YouTube channel or something, just somewhere, or Vimeo. Vimeo's great. Like just put everything on a private Vimeo channel that you can then share, or you can do private reels that you can share around. Just having it all in an organized way will make my job much easier, because then I can find what I'm looking for. And ideally in one place. So if you just do all on Vimeo, Vimeo's the best because it's, you can, I think it's free, or you have to pay a tiny amount, and you can just put it all on there. But I'm not, other places are available. If you've not got your own website, I always find Vimeo is pretty good.
So then, just going, so once we've like, say for example, we've got all our stuff together, we're like, okay, cool, we're good to go. We've got our Vimeo, we've got our website, we've got Instagram together, all of that stuff. How is it we come to you? Like, how is it we kind of go, hey, Richard, looking to work on something really cool, like a McDonald's ad, or like, what is that process? Like, how do we get to you essentially?
Yeah, a number of ways. I mean, people seem to be able to find out my email address, so I get a lot, which is good. I try to respond to everybody. You just reminded me there is somebody I need to respond to who emailed me the other day. That's a good way. Like LinkedIn, message me on LinkedIn. People do that all the time.
Also, can I just add to that question? What are we sending you? Are we sending you? Do you prefer reels? Do you prefer pictures? Do you prefer like what is like when we're coming to you? Like if say for example this is like a date and I'm like trying to score a date with you. How am I like? What's the best way of doing that? Essentially,
send your best work, and send you can send a link to your site, but if you've got a particular film that you're really proud of, send that. Just send it over, because that's what I'll watch. This will be the first thing you'll see. What I don't think really has any great use is like reels, in the sense of like, where you cut together all your work, like an old like show reel. You can't see any storytelling in that. It's just a selection of shots that I don't think there's any great use in those. But whole films, and send whatever your favorite, what you think your best work is. Put that in the email, and then put a link to all of your work. That's the best way to go.
so just to reiterate, no show, because I've had a few lives where people are like, we don't like show reels. We like, so no to show
Yeah,
reels.
they're a funny old thing, but no one likes it, because you can't see. You only see like 2 seconds of any particular edit, and that doesn't really show you anything. So yeah, show reels no good. Whole films.
Cool. At the end, I want to make almost like a tick list of things to essentially be like, right, so far we've got make sure you make a 15-second or a 30-second version of your film, and then we've
Yeah,
now got no show rules, send a whole piece, Instagram, sorry, LinkedIn or email. Cool, we've
yeah,
got the list started. Um, Once we've got hold of you and we're like in talks, all of that kind of
yeah.
stuff, what does your role look like in terms of how what is it, what are the things, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, how do you sell us to these brands, or what is that process?
Sorry, so I was reading a message underneath. Say that again. Sorry.
We'll get to the
Yeah, yeah.
questions in just a sec. Or we can actually,
Well,
yeah,
no,
we'll
no,
get to
it's
the
fine.
questions in just a sec.
Go on, ask me again.
But
Sorry.
essentially, how do you sell directors to brands, or
Right.
what does the process look like? Because once we've got a hold of you, we're in conversation, we're like, okay, cool. Now we're in conversation, like maybe you selected us because we're good for this particular brand. Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, of course. So it's the creatives first. So there's sort of two gatekeepers to getting the work signed off. There's the client and then there's the creatives. The creatives is the hardest hurdle to overcome. So the first people who we will send directors to are the creatives, and they will then go through work and decide if they think that person is good enough to do a treatment or not. Um, them, and then when we get to treatment phase, we normally have 2 to 3 people directors treat on any particular job. That then has to be bought by the client. So you've sort of got to say it's got to be sold in twice. When it comes to selling into the creatives first up, that'll all be done on the reel. You know what work you've got, all the films you've got. When it comes to the selling it into the client, there'll be a treatment that you've written as well as your previous work. And what the person you've really got to convince is the creative director, because if we love you, we can then we'll sell you into the creator. If they love you, they'll sell you into the client.
Just
So
a
that's
just a follow-up question on that. With the when that's happening,
yeah.
are you already in conversation, like as a director, are you in conversation with the creative director, or is it just kind of like, here's the vision, here's the vision, this is what we're thinking on our end, create something that fits within that, or is it just blank, like this is the message, this is the slogan, like what is there any seeds that are given, or is it just like, babe, it's on you?
No. So what will happen is we'll get sent a script, which we would then share with directors. So you'll have a script to look at. Often you'll get like a director's briefing pack, so it'll have more information like what they think the cast should be, what locations they're thinking of, a bit of background maybe on the brand and understanding. So you get a sort of director's briefing deck pack. Then we'll do a call with the creatives, so they'll basically go through that with you. And then you do a treatment off the back of that. But no, we make sure you were very, very well briefed and well prepared.
Okay, so there's quite a few steps before you get to that initial treatment.
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. You'll do like we've never ever done treatments without having a conversation with the creatives to make sure, because they've got to be aligned on the thing. Because if you write having not been, especially it being advertising, there's so many little things you've got to be aware of for the client that just so we have to do it that way.
Once I'm going to get to the question in just a second, but once you've got to that process where you're like, okay, cool, we've gone through the meeting, we've gone through the calls, and I'm now writing the treatment, is there assistance, or is that more of like a, now it's over to you, like what's the relationship there?
No, so there is assistance if needed. So we know it's quite complicated and quite hard to put treatments together. So we can offer differing things. So we can offer what usually happens is the director would write the words, and then they get help with the layout. So we'd get someone who would do some image researching and help find some like, really cool images or GIFs, and then help them create the treatment deck effectively. Some people need help with the writing because they might be really dyslexic, or they might
Mm.
not, English might not be their first language, so we can do that as well. That's another thing. And at any point during the process, there's open communication with the creatives. So if there's any questions, anything you need to clarify, then we can always ask.
Amazing. I'm just going back to the comment which says the Don't Do Nothing campaign for KCC. That's it, I think. Um, that might have been about what we were talking about
Oh,
prior, but I think we've looped over into different conversations from
yeah.
that. But feel free to add the question in again. with the context, just so that we can answer any questions. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you're watching, because we have Richard Grisman from Prodigious London, a full service production company, and we're just talking a little bit about selling directors and the process. So jumping back into that, okay, treatment's done.
Mhm.
We're like, ideas formed, script is done, cool. What's the process after that? Like, what, like, are we waiting to see if we want it? What's the situation?
Yes. So say there's three different directors treating, get all the treatments in. We then as producers have to put together budgets for all of them. So we would do budgets. So assuming all three treatments are on budget, we will then they'll go to the client, to the agency, sorry, to the creatives, and they'll read through them. There'll be a bit of back and forth. There's always, can you change this? You've spelt that wrong. All of that stuff happens.
Mm,
We build in like 3 days normally for back and forth because there's always loads. Um, when it's ready to go, or when the three of them are ready to go, they'll go over to the client. The agency normally do this without us involved. They would normally then do a presentation to the client. Normally, they'll have a favourite that they'll go into the meeting with, which will be an agency recommend. They're normally, if the state's a triple bid, they would normally only go in with two. So one will be discarded probably, which doesn't always happen because sometimes the three, like there's normally it's clear like there's a favourite or two favourites. So in that instance, then they'll go in with the two. They'll have a favourite. They'll present the favourite, and if the client's happy with it, that's it, sold. That's signed off. And we let everybody know that unfortunately they have or haven't won it, or unfortunately you haven't won it. Fortunately, you have won it. What happens quite a lot nowadays is the clients sort of take the decision away from the creative directors, and whilst they might have an agency recommend, the client might have a different opinion.
right.
We're seeing that a lot more now. That the clients, in the old days, the client would always agree with what the creative director said. Not so much now. They're very much more savvy and understand the sort of process a lot more. So yeah, we can often go in with two, have a favourite, and it end up being the other way around. But yeah, so once you've say your treatment has won, they get awarded. So we normally have to go through a bit of a process getting the signed off. But basically, then the job gets awarded, and it might be a day or two after that meeting, we'll go ahead to start production, and then away we go.
Okay, so that's amazing that you've taken us from literally from that sort of like initial kind of like call out period to, well, essentially us approaching you to right the way
Yeah.
through. I just want to sort of take it back to kind of now, just because I think you've done a good job of just like explaining the process in such a short amount of time. So thank you for that. And also anyone watching, you can watch this back on the Shiny website, and it will also be available here on the Instagram as well. We actually have a question from I'm not going to pronounce names because I'm going to butcher them, so I'm just going to ask the question. How can a director with a short film slash music videos background pitch themselves to you? Would you consider given the films aren't typical commercials?
Well, interestingly, a lot of people come through the music video. Well, that's how directors start. So, obviously, what I said earlier in terms of making it to 30s doesn't work for music videos,
Mm.
right? That's fine. A music video is a music video. What you would need what we would need with that, because you can sell in with music videos, is to show that you've got things in that music video that are what we're looking for
Mm.
in. So there might be a bit of technique, there might be a bit of acting, there might be just a bit of the way it's lit, the location. There'll be things you can find in there, but that's more on us. We would then take it, and so don't discount yourself, because that I know short film and music videos is what most people do. So there is still a way in that way. It requires us and the creatives to really buy into it and go, yeah, we can see in these three shots, you know exactly how to do what we need to do. Um, yeah, the thing is, it's hard to get in to start with, right? Because
Mm.
you until you start doing ads and get more ads, it is hard. So, but yeah,
So
no,
would you then say it's almost like, okay, so then this is me just like throwing out random ideas. Would you then say it's sort of maybe preferable? Obviously, creators should create in the way that they're going to create because that's your voice.
yeah,
But should they be looking maybe at brands to be like, okay, this is the type of brand I'd want to partner with. Should I include those techniques in the music video that they're creating? Because it sounds like essentially you're trying to sort of like for like match the quality of what basically brands or companies are looking for, but also at the
Yeah,
same time balance your own voice.
to an extent. I mean, I don't want to tell people to not sort of do their own thing, because you might come up with a style while making a music video that a creative director just goes, "That is so cool. We want to kind of work our ad around that now." So I wouldn't yeah, I wouldn't do too much of trying to copy ads in video stuff. Like, if you're doing music videos, they're really creative things. Just be really creative, and I think that in itself will shine through and will be helpful. If you're going to do like copy ads, in the sense, you can do a spec ad. Like, do pick one for whatever brand and just do a 30-second ad. Yeah, spec one for, for cheap, but you do one, and then they can see that. Lots of people I've seen have done that. I think I can never remember the name of it. The big film school in Germany. Part of the course, they make you do spec ads. Like, they make you write it and they
Oh.
make you shoot ads for brands. So that if you're going to do that, do that. But if you're going to do a music video, no, I would never curtail your own sort of creativity. Go for it with the music video. Do as much cool shit as you possibly can. Sorry, come on, that's swearing. Cool
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Because some creative might see that and go, "That is so cool. That we want that." Because it will, there's so many brands want young, they want vibrant, they want like original. So actually coming up with something cool and original in that music video will get you. Yeah, most directors start out in music videos and they find a way through that. So don't be disheartened. It's definitely a good way to go.
That's a really good question, because I think because the fact that a lot of directors, that's kind of like the thing that you can kind of keep doing and keep sort of pushing out. So it's a good way to sort of explore and experiment on different styles, because you don't have to be consistent with everyone that you work on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to, if anyone else has also got any questions, feel free to throw in, because we have a sort of like an important opportunity. So if you have any questions, feel free. There are no such thing as silly questions, so ask away. Um, in terms of, I guess, what directors can be doing now, because I'm always kind of like, everybody's probably working on something. Is there any sort of like niggly sort of like tidbits that directors could be doing that you're like, oh, like, just sometimes it's almost like you're almost there, but you're not quite there, that just like housekeeping things that directors could do?
Um, Not really. Just I would just keep shooting. I mean, it's not a nitpicky thing. It's obviously difficult. You've got to keep doing it, but always having new stuff is great, because you've just got new stuff on your reel, new stuff to show. And obviously, it'd be great if you can start getting some paid work as well, and, rather than always paying for it yourself. But just keep it is hard when you're starting out. It really is, because once you get the first thing, then things come from there. It's just getting the first thing. So just talk to people, everybody you can find. Send your work. If you've done something new, send it to everybody. Like, people like me do not get annoyed at getting sent new work. That's part of our job. So find as many sort of, every producer will get annoyed with me saying this, but find every producer's email you can possibly find. Heads of production, just keep sending work out. And the best thing to do is keep doing new stuff, keep sending it, just keep sending it, because there's so many directors out there. You need to be in people's minds, and not just producers. Find creatives. Go and find, like, see an ad you like or whatever. You can always Google the ad, and normally there'll be an article somewhere that will tell you who the creatives were on it. Or if you Google the ad and just put who were the creators, half the time it'll tell you, because they put it on their own websites. Contact them. So if you've got something really cool, just send them, because the key to getting a young director, a first time director, or whatever, getting work through, is a creative falling in love with you. So we can love you, but we still have to get past that creative stage. So if you can, come email everybody, us creative directors, young creatives, anything. Just send all your best work.
Uh, That is amazing. One thing I want to take it like even further back with this
Mm.
question is, how do you know? And I think I'm saying this to any directors that are like, oh, my stuff, oh, I don't know if it's great, it's not high budget, how do you know if you're ready? And does it matter if it's high budget? Maybe you're not from a wealthy background. What is it? You know, how do you essentially how do you know when you're ready to reach out to someone to basically for representation or for getting work?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because it is like if you've not done a full shoot on an advertising thing, it is full on. The thing is, you will get a lot of support from producers. If we know it's your first time or whatever, we'll help. You know, we can help you through everything. That's where music videos are useful because music videos are basically the same crew as commercial crew. So if you've done a music video, you've been on a set with as many people as you'll be on set with for a commercial. The only difference is you'll have clients and agency in the bag. But there's no sort of hard and fast rule. It's just if you feel ready, you know, at some point you've got to take the plunge. But one thing I would say is you have to, when you're on there, you've got to appear confident. So if you really are struggling and don't think you're quite ready for it, then maybe wait. But as long as you feel like most directors are pretty confident, right? So just get out there and they'll do it. But yeah, there's no hard and fast rule. But that's, as I say, that's where music videos are very helpful because I've worked with so many. I've worked on music videos and shoot. It's the same people. It's all the same people, and it's very much the same crews.
Amazing. So we've had a
Yeah.
question. Sometimes you don't have the right budget for spec ads. I've made some fake treatments that I send to agencies and production companies. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate spec ads is a lot because you do need some budget for that, even to make a really cheap version of one. Yeah, treatments is good. The thing that I remember a very famous creative director once said to me, treatments are great, but real is everything. So shooting stuff is what's going to get you noticed because you can write it down and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But unless you've done it, they're going to go, well, I don't know 100% that you can do it.
Basically,
So
prove you can pull it off.
exactly, yeah. So, but I know it's hard at the beginning because everything
Mm.
costs. Like there's no cheap way, especially now. There's no cheap way to make a film, like really. So it's just I think the one thing it's important to do is whatever your style is, develop that style, and however you can best show off that style. So if it works that you can do a spec ad, great. But if you can show off that style in a music video, and somebody else will pay for that, because music videos is a great way to get in, because people often, a young band will have not very little money, but they'll basically be funding it. So you will at least get to work on something you're not paying for.
Mm.
And then your payoff, as obviously if you're not getting paid to do it, is to say, well, this is my style. I want to show my style. Because if you've got a really distinctive style, that will really help. So that'll shine through whatever, whether you're doing a 30-second or a 3-minute music video.
Cool. I think we've explored the gamut that
Mhm.
is like selling and like the like what you need as a director. And I kind of for the end of this, I just want to like wrap everything up and be like, right, what's the tick list? And at the start, we were talking a bit about what was it? Messaging, making sure that we have our 30-second version of every film that we
Well,
make.
yeah, I
Um,
say with that, not every if it's an ad, if you've made an ad,
yeah. Okay.
show it can be done in 30 seconds. Music video, no, because music video is
Right.
what it is. If it's a
Right.
documentary, that you can do to 30 seconds, great. It's one of those things. If you go on someone's site or whatever, and it's just all 3.5 minute, 4-minute stuff, it's hard to know whether they can do storytelling in 30 seconds. So just having something where you can show I can tell a story in 30.
So having something we can show short storytelling, making sure that we email or reach out on LinkedIn. No show reels. No, we had a comment about show reels. Do not send show
Yeah.
reels.
When I talk about your reel, I don't mean your reel is all your full films.
Full films
full film.
only.
Yeah.
What else? What else? What else? Keep shooting.
Keep shooting.
Keep shooting.
Using, yeah.
Yeah.
New stuff.
Always be shooting. Thank you so much, Richard,
No
for joining
problem.
and also
Hope
just
that's
like
helpful.
giving us this information. Honestly, it was incredibly helpful. If you are watching and you've just joined, this live will be uploaded onto the Shiny Instagram and also the website with other opportunities and other lives. So thank you so much, Richard. And I'm going to end the live here, and have a great day.
Thank